We are taught that our solar system is a clockwork mechanism, a neat, orderly procession of planets circling the sun in perfect silence. But this map is a lie. Beyond the familiar orbit of Neptune, beyond the frozen solitude of Pluto, the order dissolves into a chaotic, treacherous abyss. This is the edge of our world, a vast, dark forest where the sun is nothing more than a piercingly bright star. Yet, in this blinding darkness, something colossal is moving. For a century, astronomers have felt a presence here. It is a gravitational ghost, a phantom tugging at the fabric of the night, whispering to the frozen rocks of the Kuiper Belt. We cannot see it, we cannot photograph it, but the orbits of distant objects are being warped by its immense mass. It is a sovereign of the void, hiding behind the curtain of deep space. We scan the skies with desperation, looking for a silhouette against the stars. We think we are alone in this quiet corner of the galaxy, but the math suggests we are being watched by a giant. This is not merely a rock. This is a monster. Based on the gravitational disturbances rippling through the outer system, scientists have profiled this lurker. It is a frozen colossus, an ice giant with a mass 10 times that of Earth. Imagine our planet, all its mountains, oceans, and cities, crushed into a single unit. This object is 10 of those units combined, a dense ball of ice and rock, ruling the outer dark. The distance is incomprehensible to the human mind. To understand the scale, imagine the Earth is a small coin sitting on your desk. By that scale, this planet is not in the room with you. It is a heavy bowling ball sitting 3 miles away, hidden in the pitch black of a forest at midnight. It orbits the sun at a staggering distance of 500 astronomical units, so far that the sun's gravity is merely a whisper. It is a world of eternal night, a kingdom of absolute zero where the atmosphere itself has frozen solid. It is massive, it is ancient, and technically, according to our current models of planetary formation, it shouldn't exist. So how did it get there? The orbit of this world is as strange as its existence. It does not circle the sun on the same flat plane as the other planets. It is tilted, offset by 16 degrees, moving in a grand, stretched ellipse that carries it deep into the interstellar void. Time behaves differently here. On Earth, a year is a single breath. For this planet, a single year is an epoch. It takes 15,000 Earth years to complete just one solitary journey around the sun. To put that into perspective, consider where humanity was during its last approach. We were not building skyscrapers or writing scripts. We were shivering in caves, painting wild beasts on stone walls by firelight, just beginning to master the use of tools. It has been retreating into the darkness ever since, indifferent to the rise and fall of our civilizations. It moves with a terrifying slowness, a pendulum swinging across the ages. It takes 15 millennia to circle the sun. But the evidence for its existence didn't come from looking up. It came from looking down at a mistake in the math. To understand the invisible, we must look to the past. In 1781, William Herschel expanded the boundaries of humanity when he discovered Uranus. But this triumph quickly turned into a paradox. As astronomers tracked this new world, they realized it was misbehaving. It refused to follow the path predicted by Isaac Newton's laws of gravity. At times, Uranus would speed up, as if eager to escape. At other times, it would slow down, as if dragging a heavy chain. This behavior is called a perturbation. It implies that the universe does not act randomly. Think of a puppet dancing on a stage. If the puppet jerks suddenly to the left without the puppeteer moving his hand, you know there is a second string, invisible to the audience, pulling it from the shadows. Uranus was that puppet. Something massive was out there, lurking in the dark, exerting a gravitational force that defied explanation. The scientific community was faced with a crisis. Newton's laws were failing. Either the math was broken, or something else was in the dark, pulling the strings. This mystery led to one of the greatest detective stories in the history of science. In 1846, two mathematicians, Urban Leverrier and John Couch Adams, decided to stop looking at the sky and start looking at the equations. They believed that the chaos in Uranus's orbit was not an error, but a fingerprint left by an unseen suspect. Working independently, they utilized the raw language of the universe, calculus and orbital mechanics, to predict the exact location of this invisible disturber. It was a feat of pure intellect, solving a cosmic puzzle with pieces that no human eye had ever seen. They sent their coordinates to the Berlin Observatory with a simple, arrogant instruction: look here. It was a bold gamble that risked their entire reputations, a claim that the mind could see further than the eye. But the logic was flawless. The astronomers in Berlin swung their great instrument toward the specific patch of empty sky predicted by the ink on the page. They pointed the telescope where the math commanded, and there, in the ink black void, sat Neptune, waiting. The success of Neptune intoxicated the scientific world. They believed they had mastered the method. So, when Neptune itself seemed to wobble, they hunted for a ninth planet. In 1930, Clyde Tombaugh found a moving speck of light, and the world celebrated the discovery of Pluto. We rested, believing the solar system was complete, but it was a false victory. As our technology improved, we realized that Pluto was tiny, smaller than our own moon. It was a reflective ball of ice, utterly incapable of tugging on a gas giant like Neptune. Even worse, the wobble in Neptune's orbit turned out to be nothing more than a calculation error from the 19th century. There was no perturbation. There was no Planet X. We had fooled ourselves with observational bias, finding what we desperately wanted to see. The search was abandoned. For decades, we thought the solar system ended at Pluto. We closed the book. We turned out the lights. But we didn't realize we had missed the footnotes written in the Kuiper Belt. Beyond the orbit of Neptune, the solar system dissolves into a vast debris field known as the Kuiper Belt. It is a colossal ring of frozen asteroids, a graveyard of billions of icy remnants left over from the birth of the sun. For decades, astronomers believed this region was governed by simple, chaotic drift. These frozen travelers wander through the dark, nudged only by the distant gravity of the gas giants or the occasional collision. In a system as old as ours, we expect disorder. We expect the scattered, aimless wandering of rocks that have lost their way. The orbits should be random, distributed evenly across the expanse of space like dust motes floating in a sunbeam. There should be no pattern in the noise, no design in the wreckage. In a chaotic universe, randomness is the law. But in 2016, astronomers noticed something that defied the laws of chance. Two astronomers from Caltech, Mike Brown and Konstantin Batygin, began to analyze the strangest objects in this frozen belt. They looked at a handful of distant worlds, including the dwarf planet Sedna. These objects are the loneliest travelers in the system, swinging far out into the deep void. But when their paths were mapped, a terrifying symmetry emerged. They were not moving randomly. They were clustered. Their elliptical orbits were all physically aligned, swinging out into space in the exact same direction and tilted at the exact same angle. Imagine walking into a crowded, noisy party and realizing that every single person is staring silently at the exact same corner of the room. That is not natural behavior. In celestial mechanics, rocks do not decide to line up on their own. They require a shepherd. Some massive, invisible gravitational hand is guiding them, herding these distant worlds into a tight, disciplined formation. The odds of this clustering happening by chance are 1 in 14,000. That is not a coincidence. That is a signature. To test this theory, scientists turned to the digital realm. They built a simulation of the early solar system, a computer model of the primordial chaos. When they ran the simulation without a ninth planet, the Kuiper Belt remained a scattered mess, failing to reproduce the reality we see today. But when they introduced a massive Earth into the deep outer void, the simulation snapped into focus. The gravity of this digital ghost forced the distant rocks into the precise alignment we observe in the sky. The model matched reality perfectly. The existence of Planet 9 is no longer just a hunch. It is the only variable that solves the equation. Statistical analysis suggests there is a 99.6% probability that this planet is real. The math is practically screaming that it is there. So why, with our advanced eyes and space telescopes, is the canvas still blank? To understand why it remains hidden, we must travel there in our minds. We must descend into the realm of absolute night. If you were to stand on the surface of Planet 9, you would not recognize your home. The sun, the life-giving inferno that dominates our sky, has been reduced to a pinpoint of cold light. It is merely the brightest star in a sea of darkness, indistinguishable from the other constellations. There is no sunrise, there is no sunset, there is no day. There is only an eternal, suffocating twilight that has lasted for billions of years. The solar wind, so powerful on Earth, is a dying gasp here. The light is so faint that the human eye would struggle to see the ground beneath your feet. It is a world of shadows, wrapped in a silence so profound it would shatter the human mind. Here, noon is darker than midnight on Earth. It is a world of eternal shadow. What lies beneath those shadows? We can only guess at the geology of such a lonely monolith. It is likely an ice giant, a smaller cousin to Neptune, composed of a rocky core buried under a crushing ocean of slush and frozen gas. At this distance, the temperature plunges to near absolute zero. The atmosphere itself would collapse, raining down as liquid nitrogen and methane, forming vast, glass, smooth glaciers that cover the planet in a reflective shroud. There are no storms here, for there is no heat to drive them. It is a planet in stasis, a geological corpse. It may be covered in cryovolcanoes, spewing slush into the vacuum, or it may be a featureless sphere of dark blue ice. It is a place where chemistry stops and physics takes over. A silent tomb orbiting the edge of oblivion. It is a frozen hellscape, preserved in the vacuum, unchanged for 4 billion years. This absolute cold is the cloak that hides it from us. We find planets primarily by the light they reflect from the sun. But out here, there is almost no sunlight to reflect. Planet 9 is essentially a mirror in a dark room. To find it, astronomers must switch their strategy. Instead of looking for visible light, they scan the abyss for heat. Even a frozen planet emits a faint, ghostly signature of infrared radiation, the lingering warmth from its formation billions of years ago. But because Planet 9 is so distant and so cold, this heat signature is impossibly weak. It is fainter than a candle flicker on the moon seen from Earth. We are scanning the entire sky for a single pixel of warmth in a universe of cold. It is a hunt that requires patience and technology pushed to the breaking point. It is a stealth bomber flying through the night. But there is a theory that suggests it might not be a planet at all. It might be something far worse. We have assumed, with human arrogance, that the source of this gravity is a planet, a solid ball of rock and ice. But there is a darker possibility that haunts the equations. Physicists Jacob Schultz and James Unwin proposed a scenario that shifts this search from astronomy to cosmic horror. What if the object we are tracking is not a world, but a tear in the fabric of space, a primordial black hole? Gravity does not distinguish between mass types. If you crush the mass of 10 Earths into a singular point, the gravitational pull remains identical, but the object itself would be terrifyingly small. It would be no larger than a grapefruit. Picture that. A sphere you could hold in your hand, yet it anchors the orbits of the entire outer solar system. It would be perfectly invisible, swallowing light, swallowing matter, drifting silently through the Oort cloud. We are scanning for reflection, but we might be hunting a ghost that casts no shadow. It is a nightmare hidden in plain sight. An event horizon the size of a fruit, weighing as much as 10 Earths, silently eating its way through the dark. These monsters are not the corpses of dead stars. They are far older. These are primordial black holes, theoretical relics formed in the violent crucible of the Big Bang itself, in the first fraction of a second of the universe's life. Before the first star ignited, pockets of incredibly dense matter may have collapsed under their own weight. They skip the stellar phase entirely, born directly from the chaos of creation. They are the oldest objects in the universe, wandering the cosmos like silent nomads for 13 billion years. Most would have evaporated or drifted into the infinite voids, but the galaxy should be teeming with them. They pass through star systems like ghosts. The theory suggests that our solar system is not special. We simply snagged one of these ancient travelers. It is a connection to the very moment of Genesis, ancient remnants of creation floating through the voids between stars. One may have gotten caught in our sun's web. If this nightmare is real, how do we prove it? A black hole emits no light. It is the definition of invisibility. Yet, it is a messy eater. If this grapefruit-sized abyss wanders through the icy debris of the Kuiper Belt, it will eventually feed. As it devours a comet or a cloud of dust, the matter swirls around the event horizon, heating up to millions of degrees before vanishing forever. This death spiral creates a flash, an accretion flare. We are not looking for a steady shine anymore. We are looking for a spark in the absolute dark. We are hunting for the brief, violent death screams of comets being torn apart. Scientists are currently proposing missions to detect these sudden bursts of X-rays or gamma radiation. If we see a flicker where nothing should exist, the debate ends. We will have found the dark heart of the solar system. Planet or black hole, The destruction it causes to the orbits is the same. But the origin story, that is where the paths diverge. The question of origin is just as haunting as the question of composition. How does a massive planet end up so far from the warmth of the hearth? The most tragic theory suggests that Planet 9 is one of us. In the violent youth of the solar system, 4 billion years ago, the Sun may have hosted 5 gas giants, not 4. This lost world formed alongside Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. It circled the Sun in the crowded inner regions, fighting for space in a chaotic game of cosmic billiards. But gravity is an unforgiving law. As the giants migrated, Jupiter, the bully of the solar system, likely swung too close. Its immense gravity acted like a slingshot, violently ejecting this smaller sibling into the abyss. It was not destroyed, but it was exiled. It was pushed to the very edge of the Sun's influence, stopping just short of total escape. It is a sibling of Jupiter, banished to the attic of the solar system to freeze alone. There is a stranger possibility. The universe is not empty space, it is a highway for the lost. Astronomers estimate that for every star in the Milky Way, there are dozens of rogue planets. Worlds that have been untethered from their host stars, drifting blindly through the interstellar void. There are billions of these orphans floating between the constellations. The second theory proposes that Planet 9 is an alien world. It was born around a different star light years away and was ejected into the dark. After eons of travel, it happened to drift too close to our Sun. As it passed by, the Sun's gravity reached out and snagged it, slowing it down and locking it into this wide, distant orbit. It is an adoptee, a cosmic immigrant carrying the geological secrets of a completely different solar system. It is a wanderer from another sun, captured by our gravity, like a fly in a spider's web. The final theory is an act of cosmic kidnapping. Stars are not born in isolation, they are born in litters, crowded together in dense nurseries of gas and dust. 4.5 billion years ago, our Sun was surrounded by thousands of sibling stars, all jostling for position. In this chaotic stellar dance, solar systems overlap. It is highly probable that our Sun brushed past a smaller neighbor, and with its superior gravity, ripped a planet away from its parent star. Planet 9 might be the spoils of a gravitational war fought at the dawn of time. We see the solar system as static, but its history is one of violence and theft. Whether it is an exile, a drifter, or a stolen prize, the math insists it is there. Regardless of where it came from, it is here now. And we are finally building the eyes to see it. High atop the arid peaks of the Chilean Andes, a new eye is opening. This is not merely a telescope, it is a machine designed to consume the sky. The Vera Rubin Observatory represents the apex of human observation. At its heart lies a camera the size of a family car, weighing over 3 tons. It is a technological marvel, boasting a resolution of 3,200 megapixels. To display a single image from this sensor at full size, you would need more than 300 distinct high-definition television screens. It is a wide-angle hunter capable of sweeping vast swaths of the cosmos with terrifying clarity. Previous telescopes were like looking through a straw. This is looking through a panoramic window. It will catalog billions of galaxies, asteroids, and stars, building the deepest map of the universe ever conceived. It is an automated sentinel, tirelessly watching the dark for the slightest flicker of the unknown. It will photograph the entire visible sky every 3 days. Nothing that moves will escape it. The true power of this observatory is not in the single image, but in the sequence. For centuries, astronomy has been the study of still photographs. We capture a moment, frozen in time. But the universe is not static, it is dynamic. By scanning the sky repeatedly, night after night, the Vera Rubin Observatory will create the first true motion picture of the cosmos, a 10-year time lapse of the universe. This is the key to finding Planet 9. A distant planet moves agonizingly slowly against the immutable background of fixed stars. In a single photo, it is indistinguishable from the millions of other dots of light. But in a movie, it comes alive. It will shift pixel by pixel, revealing its trajectory across the abyss. We will no longer need to guess where to look. We will simply watch the film and wait for the intruder to cross the frame. It changes the game entirely, filtering out the noise to reveal the wanderers. It turns the static darkness into a living, breathing ocean of motion. The era of wild speculation is drawing to a close. The observatory has opened its eye, and we are standing on the precipice of discovery. If Planet 9 exists, as the mathematics predict, it cannot hide from this machine. It is too large, and the survey is too comprehensive. Within the first 12 to 24 months of full operations, the data will yield an answer. We are not talking about a distant dream for future generations. We are talking about the immediate future. By the end of next year, we will likely have the coordinates. We will either confirm the existence of a new sovereign of the solar system, or we will rule it out forever, forcing us to rewrite the laws of gravity. The clock is ticking. The data is flowing. The ancient silence of the outer solar system is about to be broken. The game of hide and seek is ending. The lights are about to be turned on, but we must pause. We must temper our excitement with the cold water of skepticism. In science, there is a dangerous trap known as the streetlight effect. A drunk man searches for his keys under the streetlight not because he lost them there, but because that is where the light is. Critics argue we may be doing the same with Planet 9. The clustering of objects that triggered this entire hunt might be an illusion. We have only discovered these Kuiper Belt objects because we were looking in specific places where they are easiest to see. Our surveys are biased by the weather, the position of the Milky Way, and the limitations of our current technology. Some astronomers argue that if we could see the whole sky perfectly, the clustering would disappear, dissolving into random noise. The ghost might just be a trick of the lens, a phantom born of incomplete data. It forces us to ask a difficult, humbling question. Are we seeing patterns in the chaos because they exist, or because the human mind desperately wants them to exist? There is an even more radical explanation. What if the math is wrong? For 300 years, we have relied on Newton and Einstein to explain gravity. Their laws work perfectly here in the inner solar system. But we have never tested them on the scale of the outer void. There is a school of thought called mood, modified Newtonian dynamics. It suggests that gravity does not fade away as quickly as we think. Over colossally vast distances, the grip of the sun might linger, behaving in ways our equations do not predict. If this is true, we don't need a ninth planet to explain the weird orbits. The anomalies are just the natural result of gravity behaving differently in the deep end of the cosmic pool. It would mean our understanding of the universe is fundamentally flawed, requiring us to burn the textbooks. It is a terrifying thought that the laws of physics might change when we leave the light of the sun. Yet, this uncertainty is not a failure. It is the fuel of science. If we knew everything, the journey would be over. The fact that we are standing here, debating the existence of a massive world in our own backyard, is a testament to how much remains hidden. We are still children exploring the beach, finding strange shells and wondering where they came from. The darkness is not empty. It is pregnant with possibility. Perhaps there is a planet. Perhaps there is a black hole. Or perhaps there is only the beautiful, terrifying silence of the void. Whatever the answer, the act of looking forces us to build better eyes, to think deeper thoughts, and to gaze longer into the night. It reminds us that we are small and the universe is vast. Whether it is a planet, a black hole, or a mirage, the search itself transforms us. Even if we find this ghost, we have not conquered the dark. We have barely stepped off the front porch. Planet 9 orbits at 500 astronomical units, 500 times the distance from Earth to the Sun. To us, this is an abyss. But to the solar system, it is the inner courtyard. Beyond it lies the Oort cloud, a spherical shell of icy debris that extends out to 100,000 astronomical units. It is a distance so vast that light itself takes over a year to traverse it. This is the true boundary of our home. We live in a tiny, fragile bubble of warmth at the center of a colossal sphere of ice, suspended in the crushing void between stars. The scale creates a vertigo of the soul. We are microscopic specks on a dust mote, surrounded by a halo of frozen sentinels guarding the exit. We look at the map and see neat lines and orbits, but we fail to feel the terrifying weight of the emptiness. Planet 9 is not the edge. It is merely the stepping stone into the true abyss. This outer shell is not merely a collection of comets. It is a graveyard of failed potential. Computer models of planetary formation suggest that the early solar system was a violent place, ejecting protoplanets like sparks from a fire. Many of these did not leave the system entirely. They were caught in the spiderweb of the Oort cloud, It is entirely possible that there is not just a planet 9, but a planet 10 or a planet 11 drifting in the lightless periphery. There could be worlds the size of Mars or Earth, frozen solid, undetectable by any telescope we currently possess, orbiting so slowly that they have not completed a single circuit since the dinosaurs died. They are the ghosts of the sun's nursery, siblings we have never met, condemned to an eternity of solitude. We think of the solar system as a family of 8, but the census is likely incomplete. We may live in a solar system teeming with lost worlds, drifting in the silence. We have sent emissaries into this dark, but they are too slow and they are too frail. Voyager 1, the furthest object made by human hands, has been traveling at nearly 40,000 miles per hour for half a century. Yet, it has barely scratched the surface. It is currently drifting through interstellar space, but it will take another 300 years just to reach the inner edge of the Oort cloud. By then, its nuclear heart will have gone cold, and its transmitters will have fallen silent. It will drift as a dead monument to our curiosity, blinded and mute in the deep freeze. It will never see Planet 9. It will never chart the hidden worlds. We are trapped in our observation bubble, forced to squint into the gloom, waiting for the universe to reveal itself to us. The distances are a prison we cannot break. Our machines will die long before they reach these distant shores. Why do we search with such obsession? It is not merely for the data. It is not just to correct a decimal point in a gravity equation. We search because we crave completion. For a brief moment in history, we had 9 planets. Then we lost one. We were left with a sense of loss, a feeling that the family portrait was incomplete. Finding this world would not just be a scientific triumph, it would be a restoration. It would bind the chaotic outer reaches to the warm inner circle. It would prove that the solar system is grander and more majestic than we dared to imagine. It is the final piece of the vast cosmic puzzle, lying hidden under the table, waiting to be placed. When we finally spot that faint, cold, dot moving against the ancient stars, it will be more than a discovery. It will be a reunion. A lost brother waiting to be welcomed home. But until that day comes, we must rest in the comfort of our ignorance. This journey has taught us that the map is not the territory. We stand on a small island of knowledge, surrounded by a limitless ocean of mystery. As our island of knowledge grows, so too does the shoreline of our wonder. We used to think we were the center of everything. Now, we are not even sure how many planets orbit our own sun. It is a humbling correction to our pride. It reminds us that nature is far more creative and far more secretive than we are. There are forces at work in the dark that we have yet to name. There are worlds hiding in the shadow that we have yet to dream of. We are still children wandering along the shoreline, picking up brighter pebbles, while the great ocean of truth lays all undiscovered before us. The universe is under no obligation to make sense to us. So, tonight when you look up at the night sky, look past the moon. Look past the wandering light of Jupiter. Cast your mind into the deep, invisible spaces between the stars. It is there, a massive, silent sentinel, gliding through the eternal winter. It has seen the birth of the earth, and it will likely watch the death of the sun. It does not know we are looking for it. It does not care. It simply follows the curve of space and time, a lonely king in a kingdom of ice. The math says it must be real. The gravity pulls at the fabric of our reality. The shadow is too heavy to be ignored. We are closing in. It is out there, drifting, waiting, and soon we will look it in the eye.